Hi everyone, it's Aimee Stonehouse from Sandtons and I'm here with Marc. Marc, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi Aimee, thank you for the invitation to be here today. Okay, so my name is Marc Elliot. I'm from a company called Fluent Finance Abroad and we're a whole of market Spanish mortgage consultancy. We opened the doors in 2006 and our goal really is to guide foreign investors who are interested in purchasing property in Spain in how to understand how the mortgage market works.
So tell me, why did you start Fluent Finance and I guess what services do you offer?
Okay, good. So yeah, I'm originally from the UK, from London. My family are Spanish. Okay. My mother's from Madrid. So, and I used to work in the finance industry in London. Mm-hmm. And I was a specialist in the mortgage industry there. But in 2004, because of my work experience and my language skills, I was asked to come to Spain to help British mainly property investors with the mortgage side of the business. And when I arrived, after a couple of years, I decided that why not? Well, let's try and do it myself, and that's when I created Fluent Finance Abroad.
Fantastic. And what services do you provide within that?
So it's all just mainly mortgages.
Okay.
Mortgage advice. The mortgage industry in any part of the world is fairly complex, and we dedicate ourselves to studying and understanding how best to use mortgage finance in order to get the best out of your property investment in Spain.
So I think a question on a lot of people's lips is why use a Spanish mortgage broker? That's
a good question. All right, so let's break it down then. So you've got two choices really, or three really. You can buy a property cash in Spain where you don't need a mortgage broker or you don't need a bank. You have the other choice is that you can go to a bank yourself, or you can actually employ an expert, an independent whole of market expert to look after that process for you. Why would you choose one? Well, getting a mortgage in a foreign country is different than what you would probably be used to in your own country. The way that, especially in Spain, the way the Spanish banks view clients is different, the culture is different, the regulations are different, everything is different actually. So unless you have bundles of time, unless you have lots of confidence in yourself and be able to deal with Spanish banks in a language that maybe you don't understand, a lot of people do consider actually outsourcing that work to a Spanish mortgage broker.
If it's a second home or an investment property, does that affect the mortgage?
Okay, so let me try and understand that question. So a second home is a holiday home, with that right? And an investment is purely like a buy-to-let, is that right? Okay, yeah, so it does affect the type of mortgage that you can get. So the Spanish banks are more in tune with investors who are looking for lifestyle, long-term lifestyle investment. Right. So they're looking really for holiday homes and lifestyle choices. So the type of mortgage that you'd be able to get would be more favourable. So you probably get a higher loan to value. You probably get a lower interest rate. If you're what they call in Spain a speculator, a property speculator, and this all comes back from the credit crisis, and you're just purely looking for an investment return, then the Spanish banks are a bit more cautious, because there is no emotional connection to the property, and so therefore you probably get less of a loan to value, and a bit more of a higher interest rate.
Yeah, of course, that makes sense. So this is a three-part question in one. What is the typical LTV for private homes?
Okay, so private homes, you mean someone that actually lives here?
Yes.
Okay, so that the loan to values are higher. Okay. Typically, you should be expecting 80%. It is possible to get 85, 90%, but that is considered on a case-by-case basis. Okay. If you're looking at investing for a holiday home, then the general rule of thumb for non-residents, so people that don't live in Spain, you've got to be aiming, the maximum is 70%. That is the maximum. Okay. You can only go down, that's the ceiling, you can only go down from there. But the average is about 60, 65. Okay. And then generally for someone who's looking for a third or a fourth property, or your second or third or fourth, Spanish banks will generally only consider between 40 and 50%.
Okay, and that's for an investment property.
They're investments,
Got it.
holiday lets or long-term rentals. I'd like to point out that there isn't a system in Spain, a mortgage system that offers buy-to-let mortgages,
Okay.
like in the UK or in the US.
Right.
That's a big difference.
Yeah. So what are the options if I don't use a broker? Can I get one from my home country?
Can you get a mortgage from your own country?
Yeah.
The answer to that is generally no.
Okay.
Banks would generally need to have legal jurisdiction to be able to operate in Spain, like have a Spanish banking license. And if that particular bank, your particular bank in your own country doesn't have that, then the answer would be no. So realistic, if you are looking for financing, part financing a property in Spain, you would normally have to deal with a traditional Spanish bank, like a Santander or a BBVA or Bank Inter, or something like that.
So what are the typical mortgage offers for Brits, third parties against EU nationals?
Okay, so in general, the kind of deals are going to be roughly the same. Okay. Because whether you're France, which is part of the EU, or whether you're from Britain or the US, you're still non-resident. You're still not a resident of Spain. Yeah. So in general, over the last couple of years, 2-3 years, we've seen the Spanish banks actually come out with some new innovative products because to sort of counteract the interest rate rises that we've seen over the last couple of years. So there's a big trend now in Spanish banks offering long-term fixed rates for 10, 20 years, but they've also are offering shorter-term fixed rates of, say, 3 and 5 years, which is great because if you're a new property investor and it's the first time you're buying in Spain, you want to ensure that you have your financials sorted out, so your community fees, you need, and also if you've got the confidence that you can fix your mortgage payment for at least 3 or 4 years, that gives you time to budget. So you've got that, and the kind of rates you should be looking at really, and it always depends, it's on a case-by-case basis, all right? So don't hold me to this, but last month we saw some amazing deals. We saw some 2-year fixed rates at 3.2, and we actually got, for a non-resident, a British non-resident client, a fixed rate for 25 years at 2.85. Okay. Which is outstanding, which is really competitive, which is really good. So there's plenty of options out there. Great.
So I think what would be really useful to know, is there a difference between a new development mortgage or a resale mortgage?
Okay, good question. In essence, there is no real difference. Okay. The difference is when you should start thinking about how to finance a particular purchase. Off plan, obviously, the property needs to be built or is in the process of being built. So the bank won't offer you a mortgage until it is built, until the final licenses have been obtained, until it's been signed off by the local town hall. And at that point, you would get a mortgage. And that's the same, it needs to be considered in the same way as a normal resale. If the house is already built, you could buy it within within a month or two. Yeah. So the difference, in my opinion, is when do you start preparing? Now, we help a lot of clients who are buying off plan, and their concern, or the reason why they employ us, is because the build process generally is 18 months or 2 years. That's quite a long time, and their situation could change. So what we can offer is we can help them prepare early so that they can actually go through the whole journey with us involved, and to offer them that assistance, that coaching, that guarantee that in 2 years' time, when the keys are supposed to be bought, when the house is supposed to be bought, the mortgage will be available at that time, and so they can buy with confidence.
Yeah, that's really helpful. So, if I find a property I want to buy, is my deposit at risk if I don't get approved?
In essence, I'd like to say no, but yes, it can be, because if you haven't done your homework in terms of the finance and you have no plan B, and you promise to buy a house, so therefore you enter into a contract, which is a promise to purchase a house, and you don't fulfill your promise, then by law, you do run the risk. Now, how do you? What do we suggest that you do in order to avoid that? And that's do your homework on the finance before you actually make an offer on a property that you want to buy, and that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That's what people do in the UK. So they get mortgage pre-approved first,
Yeah.
and then they go house hunting.
Mm-hmm.
But we can offer the same thing here.
Yeah.
We offer agreement in principle services, which are binding, subject to you finding a property. So there are no scare stories. There are no bumps in the road, and you don't get any nasty surprises. You actually know where the money's coming from, and you know it's there.
So I guess that follows on really well, actually, because can I get pre-approved?
Yeah, exactly right. So again, this is coming from my experience from when I worked in the UK. I learned that it's really important and useful to have the pre-approval before you go house hunting, because the last thing you really want to do is fall in love with a piece of property and then come and see me and I'm the bad guy that says, I'm sorry, you can't afford that one. You have to look for something. You've spent all that time falling in love with that piece of property. So if what we offer, and I've spent years, nearly 20 years, opening the Spanish banking mentality to offer the pre-approval process, because I think it's fundamental that you actually go in fully prepared, because it is risky. If you do put money down on a property and you realise that you can't complete, then it's been an expensive and worthless journey.
Yeah,
really.
no, definitely. So, especially for someone like me, I'm very interested to know, so when buying a property, is there lots of paperwork involved?
The answer, unfortunately, is yes.
Okay.
There are lots of paperwork. Don't forget, you are asking a bank who doesn't know you to borrow money from them. It's pretty serious business.
Yeah.
So they will want to know who you are, how you earn your money. Now, the only way they can do that is by seeing your documents.
Yeah.
Luckily, we're here because we take on all that work. So you supply
Hold your
us.
hand.
We organise the paperwork. We tell you exactly what they want. You send it to us. We review it. We analyse it. We ask questions. Get the story right on paper, and then at that point, when the application is looking as best as it's going to look, at that point, then we start applying to the mortgage. So yes, there is a lot of paperwork, and it's understandable because the banks don't know who you are.
Yeah.
So expect a lot of paperwork. But if you get a good broker, then they should be able to streamline that process.
Of course.
But sorry.
So how long is the decision process normally?
So the mortgage decision from a bank. Okay, so the hardest bit is getting the documentation together, make it look great.
Yeah.
Once it's in, if it's packaged right, so it's easy for the bank to receive, to review, and to approve. To get a firm approval from underwriting, that's really important that it comes from underwriting.
Okay.
Then that shouldn't really take longer than 7, 10, 15 working days.
Okay.
A couple of weeks.
Okay, amazing.
Which is pretty good.
Yeah.
You hear stories, it could take 2 or 3 months. If the job is done correctly and it's gone,
It shouldn't take that long.
it shouldn't. Within a week, 10 working days, you should know where you are, and you should have a mortgage approval in your inbox, in your hand, subject to you finding the property in a satisfactory survey. So if it's done well, it shouldn't take too long.
Great. And is that something that I can apply online?
Well, yeah. I mean, you can do that yourself via the banks. You will find it difficult because their online systems aren't great.
Okay.
The best thing to do, in my opinion, is to engage with a broker, hopefully us.
Yeah.
But if not, find another one and engage with them and get their help to get the thing right. And because the brokers have systems in place with each lender.
Okay.
In order for this to streamline this process.
Great. Okay, so we have a client question now for you, Marc. So we've got Julie. She's a buyer. She's from London and is looking to buy property for around 800,000.
Yep.
She has 50% of the agreed price. Some of it is cash. She doesn't want to commit to the sale if she can't get a mortgage and hasn't applied for one yet, but really loves the home.
Yeah.
How can Fluent Finance help her?
Great. So this is a perfect example of a client that we help with. So yeah, she's got a great amount of cash of her own liquid funds.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So we're not looking at a high loan to value. So it means that more banks are going to be more interested in speaking to her because the risk level is lower. So what I would suggest to Julie is to get in touch with an expert, get in touch with us. Let's go through her fundamentals and let's start applying for agreement in principles before she gets pressured into committing to that particular property, and we can have that. We can help her with that. Another thing that we do as well, which I think is fundamental in this, is we would do some property checks as well. You know, whilst we're getting the agreement in principle, because we need to assess whether the property is going to value in the right way. And we can do that. We have access to Bank of Spain registered property valuers who would give us an initial desktop valuation so that we don't get any surprises later on. So yeah, I'd ask her, I'd advise her to get in touch with us as soon as possible.
Amazing. Well, there you go, Julie. Marc, thank you so much. Really appreciated it. Thank you for coming in today.
You.
That was really helpful.
Really enjoyed that.
Thank you.